Now in this particular game I'm going to show you it via a replay file because I wasn't actually recording at the time. Yeah, not sure why I wasn't, but I wasn't. And so the only real difference is that instead of being able to see the dice rolls in a nice convenient box with the results on them, you have to look in the bottom left, as all the dice results will be in the text log. But it's easy enough to follow, and I'll be highlighting them as things happen, so it shouldn't be a problem. Hopefully it won't be too ugly. My opponent, as you can see, was considerably higher in TV than us, which has allowed me to afford Mr. Deeproot, as you can see over here. Deeproot Strong Branch, a Treeman star player, who, unlike the other Treeman, has block, and also doesn't have to suffer from taking root, which is absolutely fantastic. Also, he comes with strength 7, which means on a standard block or blitz, he can get 3 dice without needing any assists. So he is pretty damn amazing. Only problem with him is he's a loner, so any rerolls necessary for him will only work on a 4, 5 or 6. First of all, I'll bring up the grid and show you what my opponent has. As you can see, he's got an ogre, he's got 4 blitzers and a thrower. Let me just quickly check what skills I have in these halflings. It appears I don't have any. I'm pretty sure I didn't have any at all, actually. Nothing. And my treeman? Nothing on that treeman, and nothing on that treeman. Right, so a completely novice halfling team, assisted by a star player. Now his ogre has guard. Let's check his blitzers. Got a blitzer with guard. What's that? Number 2. Number 4 has nothing. Number 3 has guard. And number 5 has nothing. There we go. And as for his lineman, number 11 nothing, 10 nothing, 9 has kick, 8 has add 1 strength. His thrower, number 6, has accurate, and his number 7 lineman also has nothing. So we've got 2 blitzers with guard, an ogre with guard, a thrower with accurate, and number 8 lineman with strength, number 9 with kick. But yeah, there you go. So you've got cool. So at the moment we're all just setting up. Bring up the dice log. Nice weather. And as you can see, we're on the Orc pitch right here. This is my favourite pitch, I think. I like the background, all the caverns and the people cheering from rocky mountainous posts where they look like they throw things onto the pitch. The pitch itself, as you can see, is littered in these fucking spikes everywhere. And these nail boards as well, which make for an exceptionally violent fall, should you happen to do so. Which in game terms means absolutely nothing. And as you can see, I've also got 5 subs over here. As many subs as possible. Well, not literally as many subs as possible. I think I took 15 people all in all, and left that one space open just in case I could afford a star player. Which luckily I could. If you use up that 16th place for a halfling, you can't actually get any star players or anybody else, which is a real pain in the arse if you ask me, but there you go. So as you can see here, we're going to be the ones kicking off. He's setting up his dudes to potentially get some knockdowns on my treeman, I think. But fortunately for us, we get the blitz kickoff result, which allows us to potentially attack people, well, to basically have a free extra turn before his actual first turn, in which anybody that isn't already in the tackle zone can proceed to move. Anybody that isn't, yeah, in the tackle zone. So the first thing I go and do is smash this ogre to the floor with Deeproot Strong Branch. I don't want him to be able to knock down my treeman, which was clearly his plan for his first turn. So straight away, we smash him to the floor. And then I proceed to run up some halflings. Put some tackle zones around the people surrounding my number 1 treeman so that they can't just knock him to the floor. be as irritating as possible to him, basically. The last thing I want is my treatment to get knocked down, because if they get knocked down, then you've got to go through the whole ordeal of having to roll 4 pluses just to stand them back up. And that is a real pain in the arse. As you can see, just sending up the rest of my teammates, getting into quite an aggressive position here. I'm surrounding number 1. And then we go in for the foul, and we badly hurt his ogre. Yeah, we get a halfling sent off, but we get his ogre sent off, which is far more important. So that is one hell of a good result for us. Yeah, halflings are so cheap and disposable. If you can get a foul off on a player that gets him sent off, as well as your halfling, that's a fantastic trade, especially when it's something as big and mean as an ogre with guard on him. Now it's on to my opponent's turn, as you can see, and he's still going for the surround on my number 1 treeman. Which, oh, and a halfling gets his face kicked in, which is inevitable really. But yeah, if your opponent insists on trying to get a treeman down, there's not always going to be a whole lot you can do about it unless you have another treeman supporting him. At the moment, as you can see, he's got number 8, who's his add 1 strength guy, hitting our treeman. And because he's got this guard blitzer around there as well, my number 6 halfling isn't taking away his modifier. Luckily, he only rolled a push result. Well, he rolled both down as well, but he decided not to take that, otherwise he'd be getting a turnover right now. Since his add 1 strength dude does not have block on him. But he goes in for another attack, and his kicker proceeds to drop kick my treeman to the floor. His 7 attempts to dodge through number 6's tackle zone, and he chooses not to use a reroll, so he gets a turnover. So that's a pretty handy little thing for us. A good way for us to at least slow him down a bit, since he hasn't used his time to pick up the ball. Now, I could have potentially tried to throw a teammate here and aggressively go for that ball. I could have probably got deep root to throw number 9. And, of course, you can't guarantee these things. Oh, my number 1 treatment has stood up. He's taken root, but he stood up, so that's a pretty good achievement. At least with all these guys in his tackle zone, they'll either have to make risky dodge rolls to get away from him, or knock him down again, which could take some time. As you can see here, I do attempt to throw number 9 with Deep Root Strong Branch. Didn't remember that for the life of me, but makes sense that I did, because it's a pretty good move. But he just fumbles the guy and leaves him with his head in the ground. But not to worry, that's going to happen. That's going to happen. I obviously didn't try and re-roll the throw with my Deep Root guy, because he's got loner on him. For the most part, it's just going to be a waste of a re-roll. I could have potentially thrown a teammate with number 2, but he's in 2 tackle zones. Unfortunately, he has also taken root. To be honest, I probably should have tried to re-roll out of that. Generally, that's what I'm using my re-rolls for, is to stop treatment from taking root. I mean, obviously you want to be able to re-roll the odd block and the odd failed dodge once you've already used your dodge roll up here and there. But keeping treatment mobile is pretty damn important. Having them both stuck in the areas that they're in. These areas aren't too bad. At least they're covering a fair amount of the pitch. You know, there's these 2 middle areas where humans are going to have to run right down the side or through the middle to get past them. But still, if you can, you want to keep your treatment mobile. So what the hell am I doing here? Okay, sending number 9... Right, to go and get an assist on number 3. Right, okay, I think I'm looking to punch number 3 with a halfling, but I can't do that whilst number 4's there. Right, okay, now I can. 2 dice blocks straight on the blitzer. That guy's also got guard, so it would really help us if we could hurt him. Blam! Another halfling foul. Again, as I said in the last video, this is a really good thing to do with halflings. You really want to foul the shit out of your opponents, especially when they don't have any subs. Does our opponent have any subs? No, he doesn't. So yeah, go for these fouls as often as you can. And because we had 2 assists there, it meant even though his natural armor's 8, he was making his armor roll as if he only had armor 6. which is basically the same armor as us, so our chance of actually breaking his armor is very high, which is why we got a pretty damn useful stun right there. As you can see, the big battle though is going on this right flank with our rooted #1 treatment and all these halflings around there. He runs a blitzer in and smashes another one of my halflings to the ground. Smashes his hand, in fact. Exceptionally cruel, and he'll have to miss next game. And then runs in cleverly to assist on the treeman. It's a very good idea on his part. His thrower doesn't waste any time in picking up the ball now, and will begin to make his way down the pitch in subsequent turns. Luckily, our treemen are still in most of the humans' tackle zones, so they are proving to be a bit of a pain in the arse for him. His #8 guy goes and smashes my treeman to the floor again. And then he goes to follow up with #9 over my deep root. Probably just to hold him up, keep him in place, stop him from going to assist #1. And then he does the thing that pretty much everybody should be doing versus halflings. He just goes and sticks his players in my halflings' tackle zones, just surrounds my halflings, either going to force them to make dodge rolls, or at the beginning of his next turn, if they're still next to him, he's going to be able to start smashing even more of them to the floor and getting them sent off. As you can see, 6, 4 and 8, those halflings are all going to have to make at least 2 dodge rolls. Well, actually no, 4 doesn't, but 8 and 6 have to make at least 2 dodge rolls in order to get out those tackle zones. It looks like I'm going to throw #7 straight over to #6 in an effort to delay him, potentially pull off some bullshit and do a 2 dice block against and knock him to the floor, but that doesn't work. And again, he fumble these slippery halflings, probably covered themselves in baby oil before the game. I don't know why they're not being able to throw them, but they can't. My deep root strong branch is going to go about punching #9 to the face, also stunning him, which is a pretty excellent result. As you can see, I blitzed with him deliberately so that I could then move over and try and support #1, the same way that he previously used #4 to punch down the halfling and go and support his teammates surrounding #1. So all the action is on this right flank right now. So he has 2 choices with his thrower basically. He can either run down the right flank with all of his human support, which is likely to do just fine, since he's got so many of his own teammates there. It's very unlikely I'm going to be able to get 3 halflings around his thrower and get a successful 2 dice blitz on him. Or he can run straight down our left flank, where there's only 1 halfling and a rooted treeman, and just bypass everyone. Here I choose a 1 dice block. It's not something you want to do for the most part, but I have reroll still, and I decided to take the risk just to try and get some humans out of the tackle zones of most of my halflings. His #7 will still be able to punch #9 in the face, but at least he's not supporting the rest of his team while he's over here. Doesn't look like I'll be making any fouls this turn though. Or at least that I won't be likely able to do so. Hopefully I will though, because fouling is quite fantastic. Who's yet to move? As you can see, all the people with white squares under them, all my players with white squares under them, are guys that have already made their moves. All my guys, such as #6, that have these dark blue circles around them, are guys who are yet to move. And so #6 is now getting a successful 2 dice block on #5 and smashing him to the floor, because as you can see in the bottom left, it just rolled the defender down result. Turn 3 for the humans. He stands up his guard dude. Gets up his #11. runs him to the side, which makes it seem suspicious, as if he likely will be going for the run round everybody with number 6 or round my left flank and just bypass all of the action. And that's what he proceeds to do. And that's a pretty good idea. I mean, my halflings, they can dodge, but they've only got movement 5. They're not really able to chase too well. The best way of chasing somebody with a halfling is to throw them with one of your treemen, but you can only do that once a turn. And one halfling blitzing a human being is always going to be a 2 dice against, which is never a good thing. As you can see, he just went and knocked down my treeman again. But hey, if he's using all these guys to support that attack, then that's a lot of guys tangled up in performing one particular thing, which isn't horrendously great for him. Preventing me from using my treeman is basically locking down one of the best parts of a halfling team, so it's certainly not a bad thing either. Another halfling stunned. Oh right, yeah, he had to blitz in order to stand up and hit him, of course. And as you can see, my halflings are pretty heavily locked down here. I mean, not that heavily, they can still run to the bottom left. But a couple of dodge rolls they'll have to do, and there aren't many halflings left standing here. I mean, how many have we got? We've got 4 halflings and 3 treemen, basically. I think that's it. Yeah, no one down the rest of the pitch. So we're already quite outnumbered here, which is not good. But hey, at least we've gotten rid of... Oh, yes! At least we've gotten rid of another human being, and it's a guard guy as well, a guard blitzer. So that's 1 less guard and 1 less block that we have to worry about. And how many humans are off? We've got 4 halflings off the pitch at the moment, and 2 humans. We've got 5 subs and he has none, so we will be outnumbering him. So long as he doesn't destroy too many more halflings within the next, what, 5 turns? So yeah, there is still a fair chance he can do. We'll try to attack number 5 down here, another blitzer, but unfortunately we just get a bunch of push results and just end up shoving him along a bit, which doesn't really achieve much. But hey, gets us away from the humans as much as we can. I tried to blitz with my treeman that's on the floor, but to no avail. It was the only way of actually getting him to both attack and possibly stand up, but he fails to stand up, and so he fails to be able to perform a blitz. Unfortunately, there weren't really any other blitzes I could have attempted, so I figured I may as well try that out. And again, my human opponent is making some good decisions here. He's surrounding my halflings again, which is really not a good situation for the halflings to be in. But the longer they remain locked up like this, the sooner they'll all be sent into that injury box with giant red crosses over their heads. And this is the painful part with being halfling sometimes, is witnessing your treemen who have taken root just being so close to the ball carrier and being able to do absolutely nothing about it whatsoever. I mean, in the position that number 2's in right now, locked down like he is, he's basically completely useless. The only thing he could possibly be used for is throwing teammates that stand next to him. Here this halfling's surrounded and he gets a 3 dice blitz upon him, but luckily for us only rolls a bunch of push results. Well, the defender stumble, but thanks to having dodge on the halfling, that itself is converted into a push as well. And now it's on to our turn 4. Will we be able to stop his ball carrier on the far left flank? Very little chance given the situation we're in. We attempt to attack. The blitzer standing in front of deep root, but unfortunately just get a block result, so he's left standing where he is. To be honest, what I should have probably done here was blitz with deep root, try and push that guy in front of the treeman, the other treeman, and then try and stand that treeman up, and then run down the pitch a little. As you can see just there, I attempted to dodge out of number 3's tackle zone with one of my halflings, and he fell over and injured himself. And this is part of the problem with dodging. I mean, you only fail 1 in 9 times, but when you do fail, it's as if you got knocked down. Your armor's likely to break, and you are likely to get a nasty result, especially with stunty, whereby the number 7 result, which would normally be a stun for all other players, is actually a knockout for Halflings. And another Halfling gets turfed off the pitch, and subsequently has his face mutilated. And now, that's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 injured Halflings and 1 guy sent off for fouling. So we're down 6 players. Our opponent's still down 2 though, which is something at least. And we still are outnumbering him as a whole thanks to our 5 subs. But with 3 turns left on his part, well, and 4 turns left on my part, whereby I could possibly fail some more dodges and kill my own dudes that way, he could very well outnumber us in the second half. Yeah, as you can see, basically, this drive, our human opponent has us completely locked down. He is in complete control here, and there's pretty much nothing we can do to stop him from scoring. It would take some horrendous luck for us to stop him scoring. It would either have to be him making a poor decision, perhaps running down the pitch and doing an unnecessary GFI and then falling over, or us rushing down with a Halfling and doing a 2-dice blitz after doing some GFIs to get there, possibly throwing a Halfling in the area of the ball carrier and getting lucky enough that the ball carrier just so happens to get smashed on the head by our launched Halfling. But yeah, those things are very rarely going to work. And even if they do, he's got more than enough turns to recover from them. He runs in with his number 8, his +1 strength lineman there, and pummels deep root to the floor. So now we've got 1 rooted treeman, 1 knockdown Halfling, and 2 knockdown Halflings and 2 knockdown treemen that both need 4 pluses to stand up. So we are right in the palm of our opponent's hands right here, which is not a place you ever really want to be. Looking at the way things are going right here, you could probably assess how the game is going to go straight away. But you never know with Halfling. Well, you never know ever. You can always pull off miraculous comebacks. You never know how things are going to go. And there is a good reason I'm showing you this game. Though that reason could just be me getting horrendously destroyed. As you can see, I throw number 8 down there to stand in the way of number 6, who defiantly lands in front of him and says, "You shall not pass," right in the face of the thrower. Even if the rest of the Halfling team are going to fall over dead, he is not just going to let this ball carrier waltz into the touchdown zone. He is going to at least attempt to stop him, however futile that may be. And being a Halfling, it will very likely be futile. More treemen surrounding here, more attempting to knock him to the floor. But it doesn't seem like he's fouling them, because he'd really rather not have to deal with any less players on the pitch. As you can see, my treeman actually gets shoved despite having stand firm. That's because I turned stand firm off there. I didn't want to stand next to all these guys and give them all a chance to block him. So I turned stand firm off and allowed them to push deep root back, so that he wouldn't be able to get any more modifiers on him and thus not be able to 2-dice block him anymore. So he turns attention to number 4. As you can see in the bottom left though, he rolled attacker down and pushed, so he's still standing. The only guys that have left to make a move are the thrower and number 3 and number 9. Oh, number 3 wants some Halfling blood by the looks of it. Oh, he's got both down. But only a stun, luckily. So Halfred Greenbottle isn't taking no shit either. Now it's time for the thrower to punch number 8 in the face. Will he succeed? No, just a little shove. Polo Forkson isn't taking this lion down. He might be taking it, getting shoved back into his own touchdown zone, but he's still trying. And that's what counts. So, back onto my turn, turn 6. Not much for me to do here. Punch a few people with treeman. Number 16, now Deep Root, is going to punch number 9 to the face, his kicker. Nothing amazing though, just knocked down. And I imagine I'm going to attempt to break this wall. Oh, failed my take route with number 1, so that's the end of his move. And all I've got left now is number 8. I attempt 2 dice block against in the vague hopes I might be able to pull off some miracle. I get 2 push results. I say, nah, sod it, reroll. And, yeah, get attacker down and pushed. And obviously my opponent chooses attacker down. And he's promptly killed. So, yeah, 1 halfling and 3 treemen. Things are not going particularly well. Thought for a moment the ref was a halfling, but nope. He really doesn't want to be on our side right now. I can't blame him. There is no way you want to get mistaken for a halfling on this pitch, otherwise you will have a bunch of humans surrounding you, kicking the shit out of you, as you can see right now. Even my treemen are in a bit of danger. Just due to the sheer weight of numbers. So yeah, it almost looks as if we just set up our team. As you can see, we've got our treemen all standing on the line of scrimmage. It's just that we have no halflings to speak of, or one that's lying on the floor, I guess. Who's probably doing himself a favour by being slightly camouflaged, because the moment he gets noticed, he's getting knocked back down again. And again they go for deep root. Luckily, they can't use block on him, or they can't use both down on him, thanks to him having block. They try to push him, but I keep him in place, since he has no other players that can possibly knock him down this turn. He then decides to farm himself some SPPs, which I can't blame him for doing. He might as well. He's got turns to burn, and there's absolutely no threat of us doing anything to him. And so now what will I do with my treatment? So first of all, punching number 3, who's one of his guard guys. Yes! And another badly hurt, smashed him to the face. We want to hurt as many of those blitzers as we can. Especially blitzers that have guard on them. So I think that's both of his guard dudes down now. 3 and 2. Yep, both of his guard blitzers are down, which is an excellent result for us. Because most of our halflings have been critically injured themselves. And Deep Root goes for his number 8, which is add 1 strength guy, and smashes his fucking knee, which is excellent. Can remain as strong as you want, but you're going to be a slow bastard from now on. But he does get his apothecary straight on the scene, and heals him up to just a badly hurt, so he will be back in the second half. At least we're able to send a message with these injuries. You come and stand next to our treeman, you're in for trouble. Now it's the human's turn. He promptly goes about smacking our halfling to the floor, but this halfling's quite a hard bastard. He's still on the pitch, the only halfling still on the pitch. And from there on, my opponent goes to score. So well played to him. He really completely and utterly owned me that first half there. But we did get some good injuries, so that was something. It's certainly going to make the second half a tad easier at the very least. And there's add 1 strength guy just heating himself up by the fire there, ready for the second half. And a huge box of bloodied and battered halflings. And these 5 who've been watching the whole thing are obviously looking forward to taking part in the second half. Just because everybody else got ripped to pieces doesn't mean they will, surely. Nah, of course not. Now on to the second half. I think it's time to get confident here. Yeah, sure, we haven't got a great many halflings, that we've got our 5 subs, and the one guy who survived the second half, who's now basically a vet. I mean, it's like he's been through NAM basically. He's a hard bastard now. He's got no SPPs, he doesn't need them. He's seen things, man. Deep Root's still there. The treemen are pretty much in the exact same position they ended the first half in. Oh, this isn't the second half at all. What am I talking about? This is the last turn of the first half in which I can attempt to throw a teammate. So I've still got a chance to score here. As you can see, my opponent's no idiot. He's set up his guys on the back line. He knows what I'm going to try and do. He knows what halflings are about. He's still got 8 fellas. His I'm assuming 3 most useless linemen are on the line of scrimmage. Yep, he knows what he's doing. And he's got his other guys there with enough space between them to create a tackle zone in every area we may potentially attempt to run in. I would, however, advise that he put his humans a little bit further back, a little bit further forward, that is to say, because then they'd have to attempt at least 1 more dodge roll. If he moved his humans 1 space forward each, I'd have to attempt 3 dodge rolls, whereas at the moment he's only forcing me to attempt 2 dodge rolls before I make it to the touchdown line. What the hell is it called? Touchdown zone, touchline? Touchline sounds right. I'll call it touchline from now on. The line of where we score, that's what I'll call it. As you can see, the ball's up in the air. We've got quick snap, so we can move all of our players 1 extra space forward, which is quite handy for potentially just throwing a teammate that extra space forward. And I move up my treatment here. I think even though we can't see where the ball's about to land here, I think I could see where the ball was about to land. And I'm pretty sure it was in such a dire place that I kind of I pretty much gave up on the whole throw teammate idea. We still can attempt it, but if the ball lands in like the far bottom left or far bottom right down here, we won't be able to possibly attempt a one-turn touchdown with so few players around to grab the ball. So what I'm more concentrating on here is ripping the shit out of more of his players, as many as we can before the second half begins. Yeah, and with the ball being there, we can't possibly hand it off to number 11 or number 12 up here, so there's basically no chance of us scoring this 1-turn touchdown. So let's beat the shit out of some humans instead. So number 2 going straight for the hit on number 11. Defender down, defender stumbles, defender down, knocks him down, but to no avail, no real damage done there. So number 1's going to have a shot at number 7. Unfortunately, attacker down, pushed and pushed, so nothing achieved there. However, I still can 2 dice block him with the Halflings. But I go for the attack with Deep Root here on number 10. Gets a block result and stuns the guy, but yeah, a stun as well. Nothing useful there. We need at least knockouts here. So let's run in there, try and knock down number 7 with a Halfling, maybe do something. We got a defender down. And just another knockdown. So nothing achieved here. However, I still can foul. Can I? Yeah, I've still got number 12 and number 13 to potentially foul. I can run up number 4. So it looks like I'm going for his number 11 here. Cardell the Screamer. Yep, and we will stamp on his nuts and knock him out in the process. So that's something. As for that, that's the end of that. I'm going to attempt to throw the ball here for an SPP, but it's quite a long throw. Unless I move up. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, slips right out of his hand and falls behind him. That's how good stunties are at passing, unfortunately. And now on to the second half. Cardell the Screamer wakes back up. And we've got no one who needs to wake back up because they're all severely injured, dead or ejected by the referee, who's moonwalking on the spot at the moment, it seems. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got 6 Halflings. 6 Halflings and 3 Treemen. So we've got 9 players on the pitch and our opponent has 8. So we're outnumbering him by 1 guy. Our Halflings are probably worth about half a guy, but our Treemen are probably worth about 2, sort of thing, so it's not too bad. We'll be getting the first turn. Scoring shouldn't be a huge problem. We've got 3 potential throw teammaters, and enough Halflings to form a semi-decent cage should our Treemen decide to take root, which they do love doing. Again, both of our opponents' guard blitzers are down, and his ogre, so probably his 3 best players as it goes. It's very handy for us. Well, his add 1 strength lineman is still there. He's actually a bit of a nuisance. But let's see how much longer he remains a nuisance, huh? And it's time to kick off. Brilliant kick by the humans there, straight into the audience. Which gives us the great result of being able to just stick it straight into the hands of one of our halflings. So number 14 gets it, who's nice and secure in the middle of the pitch at the moment. As you can see, I run him up into the semi-cage already formed by the treeman. I stick him there because I intend to punch these guys out of the way with my treeman anyway, so they should be able to move up into proper cagey formations, so long as I don't proceed to roll 3 attacker downs or something along those lines. However, I still have a reroll, so should all be cool. Should all be cool. So, number 2 attempts to attack number 10. He fails his take root, as you can see in the bottom left, but I re-roll out of it because I really don't want my treatment taking root on the first turn. And he smashes number 10 to the floor in a fit of rage that his feet even considered holding him in place for a moment. So they're down to 7 guys now. That's pretty cool. Number 11, Cardell the Screamer, the guy who previously had his bollocks stamped in, just stands there with his mouth wide open as Deeproot turns around to face him and rolls 3 attacker downs. That's not good. And consequently trips over and leaves Cardell the Screamer laughing his face off for a moment, which we will take huge offence to. As you can see, number 14 is now in a pretty dire situation as he can get blitzed very easily. However, our opponent rolls defender stumbles and pushed. He re-rolls that so he can get a good result. However, his next 2 results are still defender stumbles and attacker down. So luckily, number 14 still has the ball. He then attempts to run away with his number 4, but trips over in the process because he'd already used his re-roll and couldn't re-roll out of it. So it's straight back onto our turn again, which is very fortunate for us. I was going to start a blitz with my number 1. But then I decided I want to get at least a 3 dice block, which is a wise idea. So I send number 13 over to assist, and then a blitz with my number 1 straight onto their number 7. Past my take route, which is always a nice thing. And defender stumbles him to the floor. I can see in the bottom left, but when am I going to do it? Boom, there we go, okay. A knockdown, still a decent result. Better than 3 attacker downs. And I promptly go and stand him next to number 11, just in case number 16 doesn't get up, so I can at least use these halflings, I'm guessing, to punch number 11 out of the way. And number 11 goes for number 11 now. Promptly smashes him to the face as well. Come on, I need more fouls. I need more fouls. Yep, number 16, Deeproot manages to stand up, so that's a good thing. Much more useful to us on his feet than he is on the floor. Turns around to look straight at the ball carrier. Doesn't really want to look at the enemy team because he's too humiliated after tripping up in front of Cardell the Screamer the previous turn. And I move my halfling dude up a square. This is still quite dangerous as he could still run in and blitz number 14. So will I fill up that little part of the cage in that north space just above Deeproot? I should do. If I don't, I want to know why. I should do number 4, I'm guessing. Oh, that's fair enough as well. That's fine, yeah. There's no way he can blitz number 14 this turn now. Whoa, and we go in and foul Cardell the Screamer, who thought it was hilarious that Deeproot dropped to the floor, and killed him for doing so. That's what you get if you laugh at my halflings. So now they have 4 badly injured guys and a dead linesman. So that's pretty cool. Can his thrower make it around? I don't think he can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He could actually using 2 GFIs, he could run around and stand next to number 14, but he wouldn't have enough movement to be able to also blitz him. Standing next to him wouldn't be enough, as I could easily blitz pummel him with a deep root if I wanted to. He tries to stand in the faces of my halflings here. Promptly attacks my number 4 halfling with his number 5 blitzer, and does successfully whack him to the floor, but only gets a stun on him. So the numbers are still on our side at the moment. Keeps remanoeuvring his humans back in an effort to just slow us down, which is a wise idea. It works. Better than standing next to our treeman for sure. If he had a huge numbers advantage, then standing next to our treeman to just hold them in place might be a decent idea, but with the numbers he's got at the moment, it's asking for trouble. Sending my number 2 up the pitch there just to get a bit more space up there. I'm assuming I'm going to use someone to knock number 9 and move into his space, so we can recreate the cage in that little left section there. Go on, deep root. Oh, I'm surprised I didn't blitz with him. Okay. And then I go in for the blitz with number 1, who at least isn't a loner, so I can re-roll if I mess up his GFIs. 2 attacker downs and his defender stumble. And the stumble, though, is enough to smash another blitzer to the floor and ruin his bloody day. Nicely done. What's your name? May pull your arms off, that's the one. So that's 3 blitzers off the pitch now. Only his number 4 blitzer is there, and he's still got number 8, his add 1 strength linesman. Those are the only 2 real exceptional fighters on his side. He has how many? 5 players left now. And this is why you do not want to allow treemen to be too mobile, because they treat humans the way humans treat halflings. They wreck this shit out of them. Admittedly, the humans are a little bit more resistant thanks to having 8 armour, but the mighty blow of our treemen at least can often pull it down to 7. And if it's unnecessary to do that, then at least get an extra add 1 on the injury, on the casualty result. So it's not particularly difficult for them, especially when assisted by halflings, for 3 dice blocks and blitzes to get some good injury results on strength 3 players. He runs in with his number 4 and our number 12, his add 1 strength linesman, but again only gets a stun on our dude, so that's pretty handy. His number 9 is standing next to 2 treemen here, which is not the best place for him. As you can see, it's turn 11 here. Throwing my teammate either this turn or probably the next turn, which would involve my halfling having to stand next to the tree at least this turn, so that I could attempt to pull off the throw manoeuvre and move the halfling within the same turn. It's probably something I want to consider doing here if I'm going to have any shot of winning. Getting a draw here wouldn't be particularly difficult, but what's the point in playing for a draw? I want to play for a win, so I really need to consider scoring within the next few turns. He hasn't got many players left, so it may not be too difficult to get the ball off him. Of course, we could ruin it all and give him enough turns to just get the final goal he needs to win the game, but I'd rather at least go for the win, especially when we have some sort of advantage like this. I mean, if he still had 11 players left, a draw would be good enough. But we've got a good chance to get a second goal if we can get this first one, so long as there's enough turns left to potentially perform that. And then we run in with number 2 to go and smash his throws to the floor. And smash him to the floor we do. Another badly hurt. Another human being who's got to have his brain rearranged. Leaving him with how many now? 4 players on the pitch. Their injury box is beginning to replicate the same look as our injury box with our halflings. It's exactly what we want. They're going to smash our halflings down. We're going to ruin their linesmen. Pummel their blitzers and tear their throwers' arms off. Yeah, having Deep Root on the team makes a huge difference. Knowing you have 3 treemen, 3 highly strong, mighty blowers, really helps. If not just for the intimidation, for the wrecking power that they can actually do if people are willing to take the risk to stand next to them. I've got excess halflings now, so I can go and perform this 3 dice block on number 7, who's attempting to be sneaky and come behind us. I only get a push result, but that's not such a bad thing. I remember this bit. I remember thinking here, I could just push him to the side, but if I do so and don't follow up, he could actually run around and use GFI to blitz my ball carrier. So then I suddenly realised, yep, I better go and stand next to him and at least force him to perform a dodge. Something I didn't mention actually was that as you can see, I don't actually have Halfling Master Chef here, because in doing so I wouldn't have been able to afford Deep Root. But this was the first game in which I used Deep Root. I wanted to use Deep Root, I had the money to do so. I figured, you know, I could take something like a Halfling Master Chef and 2 fouls, but I've never used Deep Root before. I want to see what it feels like to have the 3 treemen on the team. And yeah, as you can see in this game, it's most definitely made a difference. Oh, and there he attempts to dodge out with his number 7 from number 13's tackle zone, and in doing so knocked himself out. I'm pretty sure my opponent still had a reroll there, so I'm not sure why he didn't attempt to use it. I mean, the chance that he'd knock himself out in falling over was pretty unlikely, but still, being able to remain on his feet and stand next to the ball carrier would have been more handy for him than not standing next to the ball carrier, I guess. There isn't a whole lot else he needs to do with his rerolls right now, other than just prevent me from scoring. But my opponent had proven to be a pretty good player, I'd say, and so I probably had a much better idea for what he wanted to do with his reroll. And now his add 1 strength linesman is in line to getting pummeled by the treeman. I knock him down. Luckily for him, his armour still holds up. And now I attempt to throw my teammate. I've got the reroll behind me, should anything go wrong with the landing. Had I fumbled him there, I'd have just allowed him to fumble. Because the last thing you want to do is throw him up the pitch where he's nearer the enemy team than your own team, and then fall over and drop the ball, giving them a turnover, or giving you a turnover, causing a turnover, and allowing your opponent to quite easily pick up the ball and just run the hell away. So there you go. I promptly scored there because I wanted a chance of potentially getting a final goal. Obviously it will be our opponent receiving, so he's got a fair, you know, he'll start off with the ball. He's probably got a better chance of scoring than we do, but we do heavily outnumber him, so it shouldn't be too hard to catch up with whoever has the ball. It's not like he can completely and utterly cage himself up, especially when we've still got 3 treemen on the team and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 halflings, so we do heavily outnumber him here. And now remember, he'll also have to stick 3 of these dudes on the line of scrimmage. So that'll be 3 dudes on the line of scrimmage and 1 off to get the ball. That looked like an awful kick, but actually, no, that was a pretty damn good kick. Lands very close, very, very close to my treeman indeed, which is really not the sort of position our opponent wants to be in. So we get a lucky kick off there, and that forces my opponent to have to come run forward. He uses a reroll to pick up the ball, and tries to defend his ball carrier as best he can. He's got to take some risky dodges here to get out of the way of these treemen. But he then goes to blitz number 14 with his number 9. I'm not entirely sure why. I guess he's just trying to create a bit of a hole there, so potentially run his number 8 down in the next few turns. I don't know. But his number 8 now is very, very wide open for getting beaten up. I mean, number 7 is still in front of Deeproot here, as you can see. So it won't be too easy to blitz him this turn. But that doesn't mean I can't run Halflings around him and lock him up. Deeproot, very pissed off about the situation he's in where he can't blitz the ball carrier, decides to just smash Jack the Beloved to the floor. Not particularly beloved by Deeproot, and thus another human being in the injury box. So what the hell do I do now? Let's see. And number 2 can go for a blitz. He fails his take route. I think, yeah, here I'm thinking about whether or not to re-roll it. I'm pretty sure oh no, I didn't re-roll it, okay. And I proceed to run him with my Halflings. I guess I'm going to attempt to perform a 3-dice blitz with my Halflings here. Since I saved my re-roll, I can still potentially get some GFIs on him. I marked number 9 with number 14, so we can't go back to assist him. And number 1 promptly takes root as well. So, yeah, that's part of why Deeproot is so brilliant. He doesn't have take root. He doesn't have to risk being locked to the floor with his strength 7 and his block skill. And that is a remarkably excellent thing, because treemen do take root pretty damn often. And once they have done, they're basically useless for the most part anyway. As anything other than Halfling catapulters. And I assume I'm going to blitz with number 4 then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And yeah, I think I can do it. It will require a dodge, 2 dodges, and 2 GFIs. Right, okay. Well, that was pretty damn lucky then. And he performs a 1-dice blitz and gets a defender stumble zone. Only thing he doesn't do is proceed to pick up the ball, but did basically everything else I could have possibly hoped for. We still have 2 turns here. So does our opponent. Question is, can he get the ball back? He proceeds to blitz number 15 in an effort to run around. And I'm guessing he'll just attempt to mark the ball rather than actually pick it up. Oh no, he's going to attempt to pick it up. And he did pick it up. But he used his reroll to do so, so there's no more rerolls left for him. Admittedly, the ball is a lot safer in his hands than it is out of him. So that was probably a good idea on his part. None of my treemen, well, the only treeman that can move is Deeproot here, and he's not actually in range to be able to GFI blitz anyone, so I just move him up a little bit. Whoop. We've still got, what, 5 Halflings though. 5 Halflings around here which could potentially do something to get the ball out of number 4's hands. Number 4... No, number 4 is just 3 strength here. Number 8 is their add 1 strength. So that helps considerably, because otherwise I'd have needed an extra Halfling to get any sort of a decent block off on him. And we get the defender stumbles results. So that ball's going straight back out of his hands and onto the floor. Good job. And we still have yet to move number 15. And blam, we managed to pick it up, so that's pretty excellent. And I've still got my reroll, so I proceed to perform some GFIs here. In order to score, well, if I didn't GFI now, I'd have had to GFI later. So since I still haven't used my reroll this turn, I figure I might as well try them out now. our opponent with number 4 would have to dodge out, come back in and blitz with his number 15. I promptly move number 11 out of 8's tackle zone, dodging out, and move around to lock up number 4 that little bit more. So if he wants to blitz number 15 now, he'll have to dodge into 2 tackle zones in order to do so. Or dodge into 1 tackle zone, dodge back out of it, and then move forward to blitz number 15. So he's pretty heavily locked up here. His number 9 is all the way down here, who's basically forced himself out of the action. He gets up with a blitz with his number 4, knocks down number 12, and runs around to the back of number 15 in an effort to at least hold him up as much as he can. Unfortunately for him though, remember I have dodge, which means I'm only going to fail to get out of his tackle zones 1 in 9 times. So all I've got to do here is perform a single dodge roll, and I can go on to score since it's 5 spaces to the touch line. But rather than risk that, I decided I'll go for the blitz. All I need is a push result. I've got rerolls. Knock him out of there. And on to the 2-1 victory, baby! Hell yeah, this is exactly the sort of game I like. One where I win. One where perhaps we start off getting absolutely trashed, but then we go on to be able to prove that we're not out of the game. We can make comebacks. Even if the first drive looks completely and utterly dire, there's still room for things to be done. I mean, it helped a hell of a lot that we smashed so many of his humans' faces in. I mean, that is exactly why we were able to do what we achieved right here. If it hadn't been for all those injuries, we'd have had a much harder time getting 2 goals. We'd have probably been alright getting the 1, but getting 2 goals would have not been impossible, but it'd have been very, very difficult. Whereas right there, it wasn't too hard, thanks to him only having 3 guys left on the pitch. And the 3 amigos cannot stop a whole Halfling team. Or at least the remnants of one. That includes 3 treemen, that's what matters. So as you can see, this is our opponent's final turn. All of his dudes, his entire team has to be on the line of scrimmage. And all we got to do is kick off. There's no way our opponent could score. He might be able to dodge out and potentially blitz a Halfling at least to get some SPPs, but that is the end of that. I hope you enjoyed this game. I know I did. Yeah, especially after having my arse handed to me so many times recently. The fouling of the ogre on turn 1 also made a huge difference. I mean, we didn't even have to worry about him at all, you know. First turn, he's gone. Even before the first turn, in fact, because we did it on a blitz. So, yeah, how the game would have been had he been around to provide easier attacks on our treemen and thus lead less assists with humans on them and thus have more humans free to do other things, it would have probably been a much different, it would have been a much different game. But luckily we did foul the shit out of that ogre, and we never had to be on the receiving end of any of his giant slaps. I wasn't going to show this last part, so I didn't think it was necessary, but I just noticed one particularly unfortunate thing for our opponent. As you can see here, his MVP was Cardell the Screamer, who was the guy who first of all had his bollocks stamped in, then proceeded to laugh at Deeproot as Deeproot tripped over, and then was promptly knocked to the floor so hard that his head exploded. So yeah, that was quite unfortunate for my opponent there. But that's the way it goes sometimes. Anyway, hope to see you next game. I think the next game will be versus Wood Elves again. Yeah, I think it's another Wood Elvian game. And hopefully I'll get that posted in the next few days. Bye-bye!